met Jay Z and I signed to Rock Nation, the first thing he told me to do is get plastic surgery. I'm not insecure because I would have got plastic surgery. People make it, they all can turn around and thank Beyonce because that's it.
M.I.A. has never been afraid to speak her mind, but this time she may have gone too far. And now the music industry wants her erased. She's made shocking claims against Jay Z, Beyonce, and the powerful figures controlling the industry, exposing secrets that most artists are too afraid to talk about. But instead of being praised for her honesty, she's been blacklisted, silenced, and pushed out of the spotlight. She says the industry isn't just about music, it's about control. Artists are forced into unfair contracts, pressured to change their image, and even expected to take part in these strange industry rituals. And when someone refuses, they're destroyed. M.I.A. risked everything to reveal the truth. But what exactly did she expose that made the most powerful people in music turn against her? And is she telling the truth or just another artist who got in over her head? Let's find out. M.I.A.'s rise to fame, from outsider to global icon. M.I.A.'s journey in the music industry was anything but ordinary. Born Matangi Maya Arulpragasam, she was never the typical pop star. She didn't come from money, didn't have industry connections, and never followed the traditional path to fame. But despite all odds, she became one of the most unique and influential artists of her time. Her music wasn't just about catchy beats. It was a mix of raw political messages, rebellious energy, and an unapologetic voice that spoke for the unheard. She first gained attention in the early 2000s, blending electronic beats, hip-hop, and world music into something the industry had never seen before. Her breakout moment came with her 2005 album, Erlar, but it was her 2007 hit, Paper Planes, that made her a global icon. The song was everywhere. It was used in commercials, movies, and even became an anthem for people who felt like outsiders in society. Unlike many mainstream artists, M.I.A. never toned down her political and social activism. She openly spoke about issues like war, refugees, and government corruption, topics that most pop stars would never touch. While this made her a hero to many fans, it also put her on the radar of powerful figures who saw her as a problem rather than an artist. As her fame grew, so did the pressure to conform. The music industry wanted her to soften her image, avoid controversy, and focus on making hits. But M.I.A. refused. She wanted to remain authentic, even if it meant risking everything. This attitude made her a rare figure in the industry, someone who wasn't willing to be controlled. Then came the moment that changed everything. Jay Z, one of the most powerful figures in music, took an interest in M.I.A. and invited her to join Rock Nation, his management company. To many, this seemed like a dream opportunity. Working with one of the biggest names in the industry could elevate her career to even greater heights. But for M.I.A., this was the beginning of her downfall. At first, she thought Rock Nation would support her vision, but she quickly realized that things weren't as they seemed. The same industry that once celebrated her for being different now wanted to control her, reshape her into someone more marketable, and silence her more controversial messages. M.I.A. soon found herself in a power struggle, one that would eventually lead to her being pushed out of the mainstream music world entirely. What should have been her biggest career move turned into a nightmare. And once she refused to play by the industry's rules, the real problems began. The Rock Nation deal. Was it a trap? When M.I.A. signed with Rock Nation, she thought she was stepping into a new era of success. With Jay Z's backing, she expected her music to reach even greater heights and believed she would have more creative freedom. After all, Rock Nation had a reputation for managing some of the biggest names in the industry. But what she didn't realize was that this deal wasn't about supporting her vision, it was about controlling it. Almost immediately, things started to change. M.I.A. was pressured to adjust her image, to become more marketable and less controversial. The industry had always seen her as a bold and rebellious artist, but now she was being told to tone it down, stay quiet, and stop being so political. The same raw, unfiltered energy that made her famous was now being seen as a problem. The pressure didn't just come from Rock Nation executives, it allegedly came from Jay Z himself. M.I.A. has spoken about how she was strongly encouraged to sign certain contracts, ones that would have tied her financially to the company in ways she wasn't comfortable with. She has even suggested that Jay Z personally tried to push her into deals that didn't benefit her. When she refused, that's when things took a turn for the worse. According to M.I.A., once she started resisting Roc Nation's control, the support she had been promised vanished. Suddenly, her projects weren't being prioritized, her music wasn't getting the same level of promotion, and her access to the industry's top platforms started disappearing. It was clear that she was being pushed out. She also claims that she saw similar things happening to other artists who didn't play by the industry's rules. While some artists flourished under Roc Nation's management, others who refused to comply with certain expectations found themselves struggling, losing deals, or being slowly erased from the mainstream. The biggest warning sign came when M.I.A. was caught in a legal battle after her infamous Super Bowl performance. Instead of standing by her, Roc Nation allegedly urged her to settle the lawsuit in a way that would keep her financially tied to them for years. She saw this as yet another trap, an attempt to keep her under control. When she refused to give in, her relationship with Roc Nation completely crumbled. M.I.A. realized she was no longer dealing with just music industry politics. She was dealing with something much bigger and more dangerous. She wasn't just at risk of losing her career, she was now in a battle against some of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry, and things were about to get even worse. The Super Bowl controversy, why M.I.A. was targeted. The 2012 Super Bowl halftime show was supposed to be one of the biggest moments of M.I.A.'s career. She was performing alongside Madonna and Nicki Minaj, an opportunity that would put her in front of over 110 million viewers worldwide. But what should have been a career-defining moment turned into a nightmare, one that would mark the beginning of her downfall in the music industry. During the performance of Give Me All Your Lovin', M.I.A. made a split-second decision that would change everything. She flipped off the camera. It wasn't an aggressive gesture, nor was it even noticed by many viewers at first. But for the NFL and the corporate powers behind the event, this was an unforgivable offense. Almost immediately after the show, the backlash began. The NFL sued M.I.A. for $16 million, claiming that her middle finger gesture had damaged their brand and violated her contract. The lawsuit was shocking, not just because of the amount they were demanding, but because far worse incidents had happened during Super Bowl performances before, with little to no consequences. M.I.A. quickly realized that she was being singled out and punished in a way that other artists weren't. She pointed out the double standards, questioning why the NFL was fine with cheerleaders in provocative poses, sexually suggestive commercials, and other controversial content, but was now acting outraged over a brief hand gesture. But here's where things get even more suspicious. Roc Nation, the company that was supposed to be protecting her, allegedly didn't defend her at all. Instead of helping her fight back, they pressured her to settle in a way that would financially bind her to them for years. According to M.I.A., Jay Z himself suggested that she should just apologize and pay up, rather than stand her ground. M.I.A. refused. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting against a system that punishes artists who refuse to be controlled. She later revealed that she believed this lawsuit wasn't just about her Super Bowl performance. It was about teaching her a lesson. She fought the lawsuit for nearly 2 years, and in the end, she won. But the damage was already done. She was now seen as difficult and uncooperative, two labels that could destroy a career in the music industry. But the real punishment was yet to come. Jay Z and Beyonce's alleged control, industry blacklisting. After the Super Bowl controversy, M.I.A. started noticing a pattern. Her career wasn't just slowing down, it was being systematically erased. It wasn't just about losing deals or facing media criticism. It felt like she was being pushed out of the industry entirely. Her music wasn't getting promoted the same way. Major media outlets suddenly stopped covering her work, and even her scheduled interviews were mysteriously canceled at the last minute. At first, it seemed like bad luck, but as time went on, it became clear. This wasn't random. This was blacklisting, and M.I.A. believed she knew exactly who was behind it: Jay Z and Beyonce. M.I.A. had worked with Roc Nation, expecting support and artistic freedom, but instead she found herself fighting for control of her own career. When she refused to sign unfair contracts, settle legal battles on their terms, or conform to their industry rules, she realized she was dealing with forces far more powerful than she had imagined. She claims that Jay Z's influence in the music industry is so strong that he has the ability to make or break an artist's career. And for someone like M.I.A., who refused to play by his rules, the consequences were severe. One of the most chilling examples of this alleged blacklisting was when a magazine interview she had done, in which she spoke about her experiences with Roc Nation, was completely erased. The interview was published, but within days it was taken down without explanation. When she tried to push back and ask why, she was met with silence. It wasn't just media blackouts, her music was also being affected. Albums that once received major promotions were suddenly ignored. Collaborations she had lined up fell through without warning, and festival appearances she had been booked for mysteriously vanished. M.I.A. wasn't the first artist to speak about this kind of industry blacklisting, but she was one of the few willing to call out the people responsible. She started to publicly question why the industry seemed so afraid of Jay Z and Beyonce, and why anyone who spoke out against them seemed to face serious consequences. She pointed out the double standards in the music industry, how Beyonce was praised for her activism, yet when M.I.A. spoke about global issues, she was labeled too political and problematic. She believed this was part of a larger system that allowed only a select few artists to dominate the industry, while ensuring that anyone who stepped out of line was punished. As her battle against the industry grew, M.I.A. also faced personal struggles, including a brutal custody battle that she believes was influenced by powerful figures in the music world. Whether or not Jay Z and Beyonce were directly involved, one thing was clear: M.I.A. had gone from being one of the most promising artists of her generation to an industry outcast. But she wasn't done fighting yet. M.I.A. calls out Beyonce, the double standards of the music industry. M.I.A. had always been outspoken about industry corruption, but when she called out Beyonce, she crossed a line that few artists dared to. While Beyonce is seen as a symbol of empowerment, M.I.A. questioned whether she was really using her influence for good, or just playing the industry's game. For years, Beyonce has been praised for her activism and political messages, especially when it comes to issues like Black empowerment and feminism. But M.I.A. noticed something troubling. While Beyonce was celebrated for speaking out on certain issues, other artists, including M.I.A. herself, were silenced and punished for doing the same. M.I.A. didn't hold back. In an interview, she questioned why artists like Beyonce were allowed to pick and choose which causes to support, while others were blacklisted for speaking on issues that didn't fit the industry's narrative. She pointed out that when she spoke about war, refugees, and global injustices, she was labeled as too political and difficult to work with. Meanwhile, Beyonce was able to incorporate activism into her music and be praised for it. She specifically called out Beyonce's 2016 Super Bowl performance, where she made a bold statement in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. While M.I.A. agreed with the cause, she found it hypocritical that the industry embraced Beyonce's political stance while punishing others for speaking on different social issues. M.I.A. stated, "If you're going to talk about Black Lives Matter, then you need to talk about other global issues too, like the struggles of refugees and war victims. Why is one acceptable and the other not?" She also brought up the fact that Beyonce's activism was always carefully controlled, fitting within the limits of what the industry deemed acceptable. Meanwhile, M.I.A.'s activism was seen as a threat because she spoke about issues that made the powerful people in the industry uncomfortable. Her comments sparked controversy. Beyonce's fans were outraged, accusing M.I.A. of being jealous and bitter. But others saw the truth in her words. Why were some artists allowed to speak freely, while others were silenced or erased? M.I.A. stood by her statement, refusing to apologize or back down. She wasn't attacking Beyonce personally. She was exposing a system of double standards that determined who gets to use their voice and who doesn't. But by challenging one of the most powerful figures in music, M.I.A. had made even more enemies. And soon her personal life would take a devastating hit. The custody battle. Did M.I.A. face retaliation? As if the industry blacklisting and legal battles weren't enough, M.I.A. soon found herself in one of the most painful fights of her life, a custody battle over her son. But this wasn't just a personal struggle. She believes it was another form of retaliation, orchestrated by powerful people in the music industry to punish her for speaking out. M.I.A.'s relationship with Benjamin Bronfman, the father of her child, started out strong. Bronfman, the son of a billionaire family with deep connections in business and politics, seemed supportive of her career at first. But after their split, things turned ugly, and M.I.A. claimed that his wealthy and powerful family used their influence to gain full custody of their son. She described the experience as heartbreaking and isolating, claiming that she was being treated as an unfit mother, despite never having a history of neglect or abuse. The most shocking part? She hinted that the people trying to take her child away were the same ones trying to erase her career. M.I.A. spoke out about how she felt trapped. If she continued to fight for her rights, she risked losing access to her son entirely. But if she gave in, she would be forced into silence, just like so many other artists before her. During this time, she noticed that more industry doors were closing on her. Venues that once welcomed her were no longer interested in booking her. Music platforms stopped promoting her songs, and many of her former industry friends distanced themselves from her. It was clear she wasn't just fighting for her child. She was fighting against an entire system designed to destroy those who didn't obey its rules. Despite everything, M.I.A. never stopped speaking out. She refused to be another artist who disappeared quietly, and instead she used every platform available to call out the corruption she believed was at play. But while she was battling legal issues and industry blacklisting, even more disturbing stories started to surface. Stories about the dark side of the music business, about how some artists were allegedly pressured to change their appearance or take part in rituals to maintain their success. And according to M.I.A., she had firsthand experience with this too. The darkest allegations, plastic surgery, pressure and ritual claims. As M.I.A. fought for her career and custody of her son, she started revealing even more disturbing details about the music industry, claims that made people question just how deep Hollywood's control over its artists really goes. According to her, it wasn't just about contracts, blacklisting, and censorship. It was about manipulation, image control, and even rituals that some artists were forced to take part in. One of the most shocking claims she made was that Jay Z told her she wasn't pretty enough and suggested she get plastic surgery to fit the industry's beauty standards. This was a moment that completely changed her perspective on the industry. She had always believed that music was about talent, creativity, and storytelling. But here she was, being told that her success depended on whether or not she was willing to alter her face and body. M.I.A. refused. She had built her brand on being different from the mainstream, and she wasn't about to let powerful industry figures reshape her into something she wasn't. But she quickly realized that rejecting their demands came with consequences. She also started speaking about darker allegations, claims that some artists in the industry had been pressured into taking part in the secret rituals as part of their rise to fame. While she never directly said she had been forced into anything, she hinted that she had witnessed things behind closed doors that made her uncomfortable. In one interview, she cryptically said, "There are things in this industry that you wouldn't believe. Some people are willing to do anything for fame. I wasn't." Many took this as a reference to the rumors of occult practices in the entertainment world, stories that have been circulating for years about hidden societies controlling the industry. While some dismissed these as conspiracy theories, others pointed out that M.I.A. wasn't the first artist to hint at this kind of thing. Her refusal to comply with the industry's beauty expectations and secretive power structures only made her an even bigger target. Some believe this is why her career was systematically dismantled and why she was painted as controversial and unreliable instead of celebrated for her fearless artistry. But M.I.A. wasn't the only one speaking out. Others, including former industry insiders, began to confirm that the music business isn't as glamorous as it seems. Other artists speak out. Is M.I.A. telling the truth? M.I.A.'s claims about the dark side of the music industry shocked many people, but she isn't the only artist who has spoken out about these issues. Over the years, several musicians, insiders, and former industry executives have hinted at similar experiences. Stories of control, manipulation, and punishment for those who refuse to follow the rules. One of the most notable voices to back up these claims was Larry Johnson, a former Roc Nation executive, who stated that the music industry is heavily controlled and that artists who challenge the system are silenced, blacklisted, or even set up for failure. He described the industry as a place where talent alone isn't enough, and where deals come with hidden expectations that many artists don't realize until it's too late. Another example is Kanye West, who has openly spoken about how the industry tries to control artists and strip them of their creative freedom. He has hinted at how powerful figures in music make or break careers, and how refusing to follow certain rules can lead to sudden career setbacks. While Kanye is often dismissed as controversial, his claims sound eerily similar to what M.I.A. has been saying for years. Even pop superstar Britney Spears has exposed the abuse of power in the industry, particularly with how her career was controlled under a conservatorship for over a decade. Her story revealed how the industry has ways to keep artists in line, especially when they are seen as rebellious or unpredictable. M.I.A. has pointed out that many of these artists, Kanye, Britney, and even Michael Jackson in his later years, began speaking about industry corruption only after they reached a certain level of success. That's when they started realizing that they were never truly in control of their own careers. But what makes M.I.A.'s story unique is that she wasn't just speaking out about contracts and legal battles. She was exposing the industry's deeper, hidden structures, the ones that involve image control, financial traps, and even rituals that some artists are allegedly pushed into. Despite her credibility and success, many people chose to dismiss her claims. Some called her a conspiracy theorist, while others said she was just bitter about her career fading away. But if that were the case, why are so many other artists saying similar things? The truth is, M.I.A. had a successful career, a loyal fan base, and major industry recognition. She had nothing to gain by making these claims, yet she risked everything to tell her story. So was she really just making things up? Or was she one of the few artists brave enough to tell the truth? The aftermath. What happens when you speak out? When an artist speaks out against the music industry's hidden power structures, the consequences can be devastating. M.I.A.'s case is one of the most extreme examples of what happens when someone refuses to stay silent. But she is far from the only artist who has suffered career setbacks, blacklisting, and personal attacks after exposing uncomfortable truths. After she called out Rock Nation, Jay Z, and Beyonce, her career took a noticeable downward turn. She was no longer being invited to major events, her music was getting less promotion, and collaborations that were once lined up suddenly fell through. It was as if the industry had decided she no longer existed. One of the most effective ways the industry deals with rebellious artists isn't through direct confrontation. It's through silence and erasure. Instead of openly discrediting M.I.A., the industry simply stopped acknowledging her altogether. Her music, which was once played on every major platform, was no longer being pushed in playlists or radio rotations. Interviews that were supposed to feature her were mysteriously canceled or edited down. This wasn't just bad luck. It was a calculated effort to make sure she was pushed out of mainstream culture. If an artist doesn't exist in the media, their voice and their message become easier to ignore. M.I.A. has spoken about how lonely and frustrating this experience was. She had spent years building her career, only to watch it slowly disappear right in front of her eyes. It wasn't just about losing popularity, it was about being systematically silenced. The psychological toll, isolation, and fear. For many artists who speak out, the consequences go beyond career damage. It affects their mental and emotional well-being. Being blacklisted means losing not only opportunities, but also friendships and industry support. M.I.A. has revealed that during the height of her struggles, she felt completely alone. People who once supported her distanced themselves, afraid that being associated with her would damage their own careers. This type of isolation is a common tactic used by powerful industry figures to ensure that those who challenge them are left without resources, allies, or credibility. When artists lose their industry connections, it becomes harder for them to fight back. Other artists who face similar retaliation. M.I.A. isn't the only artist who has experienced this type of treatment. Throughout history, many musicians, actors, and public figures who have spoken out about industry corruption, exploitation, and control have faced serious backlash. Prince openly spoke about the corruption in the music industry and how major record labels enslaved artists through unfair contracts. He fought to own his masters and even changed his name to a symbol to protest against the industry. Kesha tried to expose her producer Dr. Luke, accusing him of abuse. Instead of support, she found herself locked in a legal battle for years, unable to release music freely. Michael Jackson, in his later years, claimed that the industry was run by powerful figures who manipulated and controlled artists. He spoke about how record labels enslaved artists and profited from their suffering. Not long after, he mysteriously passed away. M.I.A. has pointed out that when artists like Kanye West or Britney Spears started exposing the dark side of the industry, they were immediately labeled as crazy. This pattern is clear. When an artist tells the truth, the industry makes sure no one believes them. M.I.A.'s continued resistance. Despite everything, M.I.A. never backed down. Even though the industry tried to erase her, she continued making music, speaking out, and sharing her truth. She has remained independent, refusing to sign contracts that would force her to give up her creative freedom. While she doesn't receive the same mainstream attention she once did, her loyal fan base continues to support her message. In recent years, she has used her platform to encourage new artists to protect themselves and avoid falling into the industry's traps. She warns young musicians that behind the glitz and glamour, the music business is a machine designed to control and exploit talent. Will she ever make a full comeback? The biggest question now is, can M.I.A. ever return to the mainstream, or has the damage been done? Hollywood and the music industry have a long history of giving second chances, but only to those who play by the rules. If M.I.A. were to suddenly change her stance, apologize, or rebrand herself, she might be welcomed back. But that's not who she is. She refuses to compromise her integrity, which means the industry will likely continue to keep her at arm's length. However, the world is changing. With social media and independent platforms, artists no longer need the industry's approval to reach their fans. More and more people are starting to believe the stories of blacklisting, control, and corruption. Could this mean that artists like M.I.A. will eventually be vindicated? Or will the industry continue to bury their voices? One thing is for sure, M.I.A. may have lost her place in mainstream music, but she has cemented herself as a fearless truth teller who refuses to be silenced. What do you think? Was M.I.A. blacklisted, or did she destroy her own career? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into Hollywood's biggest secrets, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more updates. See you in the next one.